Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Who's Behind the Headline. Please make sure to like and subscribe. I have been really looking forward to this episode today. I sit down with Crystal Sale. She is the mother of Katlyn Lyon. And when I heard about Caitlyn's case a few years ago, it changed me. It changed me as a person. It changed me as a news reporter. And ever since, I have been so honored to be able to share Caitlyn's story, to be able to continue to share Caitlyn's light. Her light was unfortunately snuffed out in one of the most gruesome ways possible. Katlyn Lyon was attacked in her bed and left for dead next to her sleeping daughter, and she did pass away. And her ex-boyfriend, Trenton Frye, was sentenced to life in prison in August of this year. He was found guilty in April. Now, Caitlyn's family has experienced the unimaginable, and being able to go through a court process, being able to even just get up every day has not been easy. But Caitlyn's mother, Crystal, continues to share her daughter's light, share her daughter's story in the hopes that she can help someone else, save someone else from domestic violence. I want to thank you guys for watching. Crystal, thank you so much for joining me today on my podcast, Who's Behind the Headline. Ever since we met and I heard about Caitlyn's story, I've been drawn to her story. And then getting to meet you and create this relationship with you and just learning more about your family and learning more about Caitlyn. I've always felt so inspired by your strength throughout this whole situation. I know that it's not easy. So I did want to, just ask you, what has life been like now that the case has kind of wrapped up? We've gone through the sentencing. Trenton Frye is convicted to life in prison. So what has that been like for you?
It continues to be hard. I thought, with the sentence that we got, it would be, and for a second, and I can't say happy, I was glad that it went that way, but it didn't bring Caitlyn back, so it didn't make anything better.
Right. And I know that you've said the only thing that would make this better is if Caitlyn walked through those doors.
Would magically appear,
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your life before this all happened, before Caitlyn was attacked and murdered by Trenton Frye. I never really heard you talk about it until the sentencing, when you got up on the stand and you gave your impact statement, and you talked about how life was perfect.
It was almost perfect. I mean, I was newly married. I had 3 healthy, happy adult children, and they were doing really well, and 4-year-old granddaughter that was happy and healthy, and life was good.
Yeah.
And then the bottom dropped out.
And for your family too, before this all happened, when you heard about domestic violence, did you think it was something that was ever going to cross into your family's life?
Never.
Yeah.
I never would have thought this would have happened to us, especially in our town. When she was trying to find a new apartment, I said, just make sure you get a nice neighborhood so that you and Melania are safe. And when she picked this one, I was ecstatic because she was so close to us, and it was a safe area.
It's very obvious that Caitlyn wanted her daughter to be safe, that she was trying to do everything that she could to protect her. And we see this with a lot of victims of domestic violence. When they leave, it kind of almost puts them at more risk. Is there anything that, since becoming a victim yourself in this whole thing, is there anything that you've learned about domestic violence that you didn't know beforehand?
Well, I don't think Caitlyn even knew the danger she was in. I think that she thought, he was just really mad, but never did I think she thought this would happen.
Yeah.
She did everything right. She moved apartments. He didn't know where she was supposed to be. She blocked him. She did everything right. Textbook.
Yeah.
And it still happened.
Yeah. And for people who are watching and don't know the story, don't know what happened, will you talk to me a little bit about that morning? I believe it was around 5 a.m. when you got a phone call.
Actually, tomorrow will be 35 months that she was attacked. 5:30 in the morning, 5:35 in the morning, I got a phone call, and her roommate said that Caitlyn was unresponsive and they're doing CPR on her. I needed to get there. So I called my sister. She was able to get there, quicker than I was because she lived closer to her. And I get there and she's in the ambulance and, not knowing what's going on. And the whole time, their deputies are saying, drugs. And even asked me, do you know if your daughter does drugs? And I'm like, no, I've never seen any signs of her doing drugs. You don't know what your adult children do outside of, when they're not with you. But no, there's no signs of her doing drugs. And so it was drugs for a little while. And then it turned on, they were looking at the roommate since he was there in the apartment with her.
Right.
And then it just all led to Trent.
Yeah. And, obviously in the beginning there was a lot of uncertainty. No one really knew what was going on. Was there, for a second in your mind, did you think Caitlyn was attacked? Or was it just like, before you had learned, okay, they started seeing bruises, they started seeing these marks, learning more about her injuries, did that even come to your mind that morning?
No, because, of course they were saying drugs and I was going on what they were saying and I'm like, it never really crossed my mind because, who would want to hurt Caitlyn, Everybody loved her. Yeah. So I couldn't have imagined somebody wanting to hurt her.
Can we talk a little bit more about Caitlyn? I know, everyone loved her, and seeing videos and pictures of her, she lit up every single room, all the way from her hair colors to her feet, her dance moves. Talk to me a little bit about her.
She was the life of the party. In my statement, I said, she didn't try to fit into a crowd. She was the crowd. She brought the crowd with her. She was happy and bubbly and, she'd speak her mind. If you pissed her off, she would definitely, don't you put him up, speak her mind. She didn't take anything from anybody, and I think that's when she finally told Trent, that she was done taking it. And but she had so many friends, so many people reached out to me after her death. I didn't realize how big she was. People from all over the world reach out to me.
Yeah, just seeing the impact that she made.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So let's go back to her and Trenton start dating. What did you think about him at first? What was the feeling from your family?
It's one of those things that I didn't like him, but I did not like him. It's like I couldn't figure out what he was about. I knew that he was he talked a big game about himself, but it's something that I knew that if Caitlyn were to see any red flags, she could take care of herself. Gary, my husband, told Caitlyn he's not good, Caitlyn.
Really?
Yeah, he's really the only one that really saw through him.
Yeah.
And he'd even told Caitlyn, he's not good for you. And Caitlyn's like, why? And I guess him too, thinking that, Caitlyn can take care of herself. Caitlyn was tiny, but she was mighty. She could take care of herself. So we knew if anything were to come up that Caitlyn would take care of it.
Yeah.
We'd be there if she needed us, but we knew that Caitlyn could take care of herself.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I would have thought more about it, why I didn't like him.
Was Trenton's attitude, once you started to get to know him a little bit longer, they dated for a few months, were you able to see kind of the con man?
No, still I thought he was full of it. He said he had 2 businesses and, I knew that he was full of it.
Yeah.
Just he drove his mama's car here every time. And I asked Caitlyn, I said, Caitlyn, where's his car? Why is he driving his mama's car all the time? And she said, it's in the shop. Every time he said it's in the shop. So, I don't think you could tell the truth about anything. And
yeah.
But I didn't. Still at that point, couldn't figure out why I didn't like him.
Right. And also, too, I think it's hard. I've noticed my mom, I've had boyfriends that have not been great, that she hasn't liked. And, you know, you want to be there to support your kid. You don't want to push your kid farther away from you by telling your kid what to do, right? And, you know, Caitlyn was an adult, you know, and you were like, she's always been able to handle her own.
Yeah. And if I were to say, you know, Caitlyn, I don't like him, you don't need to be as him, you know, that kind of puts a rift in between a mother and daughter, especially if she loves this man. And so, you know, I didn't want to do that. And again, I knew that Caitlyn could take care of herself, you know?
Yeah.
Little did I know.
Yeah. So we've heard from some of her friends that, you know, testified at trial, and I'm sure you've spoken with them as well, kind of talking about like some of the spark leaping Caitlyn's eyes, her deleting her social media, her changing her phone number. Did you realize those things were happening, or were they kind of just, did she keep a lot of that to herself?
Well, when I saw that she wasn't on social media anymore, I asked her, I said, Caitlyn, you know, why aren't you on social media? She said, just taking a mental break, which is not unusual for, you know, a young adult. They take mental breaks on things, you know. And with the phone, her phone number, I asked her again, Caitlyn, why did you change your phone number? Something to do, Mama, you know, which was not, you know, still I didn't think anything of it. And now that I look back, I know that there was more to it. You know, I think he was controlling.
Yeah.
I think that's why he was trying to get her to move to North Carolina, so he could get her away from her family unit and have more control.
Yeah.
And then as far as the light in her eyes, we had a party here for Milani August, and I'm sorry.
Okay.
August, and I look back at the pictures now, and the light had gone out of her eyes. And at the time, I could have thought, because she was working 12 hours a day, I could have thought, you know, maybe she's just tired from working, because she was working hard. And but now I kind of think it could have been more that, you know, he was taking the light from her.
Right. I think a lot of what it comes down to is just that, like, you never expected that this would ever be your reality, right? Like, you never, even you got to know him, even though you weren't 100%, you know, his biggest fan, it still wasn't something that crossed your mind. This wasn't, like, part of your reality at the time at all. Mm-mm. So it's, like, obviously hindsight's 20/20. You can look back now, but, you know, I think it's good to give yourself some grace, because it's, like, these are the things that we don't expect to happen to us at all.
I wish I could go back.
Yeah. When you start to, you know, Caitlyn's in the hospital, you're starting to learn about what happened to her. When was it that in your mind you were like, it was Trenton Frye?
Well, you know, I went into the hospital, and one of the first things I said after I found out she was attacked, I said, was she raped? And, you know, they said no. There was no money stolen out of the apartment. Her purse was there. There was money on the table. Yeah. And so I kind of started thinking it was a little bit more personal, because no one's there to rob her or rape her. Right. So after, shortly after that, you know, they had told me that they were looking into Jacob. And I just wasn't seeing it. Yeah. You know, I was going with what they were saying, because they were the investigators, and, you know, they were doing their job, and I was letting them do the investigation. But it wasn't long. I'm like, why would Jacob and Caitlyn why would Jacob spend all the money they have saved up to get an apartment together, only to kill her the night that they're in that apartment, and then him being homeless?
And that was like his first night that I think he ever spent in the apartment.
So it didn't make sense to me. Right. So, and then, you know, the name Trent got brought up, and it might have even been Tina, you know, and we started, you know, talking about Trent. And then I guess they started really looking into Trent, and it was all leading to him. Yeah.
And, you know, we sat through the trial. There was no DNA evidence, but there was just so much circumstantial evidence placing him there at the time, with so much as his phone connecting to Bluetooth around the time of the attack. Yeah. And Trenton, you know, throughout this process never reached out to your family at all.
Mm-mm. He reached out to Sherry when Sherry was actually helping her that Thursday move in. He reached out to her about being in town. Don't tell Caitlyn, you know, do you need any work done? You know, that Sherry's talking about doing some remodeling. And Sherry thought that was strange, because he hadn't talked to her in a long time. And then Sherry had, you know, sent that to Caitlyn, hey, you know, Trent's in town, so be careful. Keep your eye out, you know. And little did we know he was sitting at the top of the hill watching, probably watching Sherry coming in and out. And
No. I wanted to talk to you a little bit too about stalking because, we learned did you know before going to trial how long Trenton had stalked Caitlyn for?
No, I had no idea. I also didn't know that. I guess I had seen the autopsy report, but I wasn't letting my mind go into that space because in my mind, to make it easier, I guess, on me, I was thinking that he went in there, strangled her really quick, so it wouldn't have been as terrorizing and painful. I didn't realize, I guess I wasn't putting my mind there to think that it was a longer amount of time that he was in that apartment terrorizing her, and that he'd also beat her. I didn't realize that until the trial, and that was very hard.
Yeah. There was a lot that came out in the trial. I mean, there's pictures, there's information. What was that like for your family to sit there? I always admire families so much, the strength that they have to sit there and not jump over the bench or just scream or cry.
Yeah.
You have to keep your composure. What was that like for you?
Well, I was given the option before I went in. Heather Sellers, our victim witness advocate, is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
She is. I'm not even sure I would have made it through it without her being there for me through everything. I was given the option. She was gonna let me know when pictures were gonna be shown, and I chose to be there for them because with me, I wanted to know everything about my kids' lives.
Yeah.
And Caitlyn's death didn't change it. I needed to know what she went through, what happened, as hard as it was. And then I've never been able to put myself in anybody else's grief because mine has been so difficult.
Yeah. It's okay. Take your time. And if you need tissues or anything, we could stop too.
But during the time that they put the pictures up of Caitlyn's scalp open up, showing the bruising in her neck, my youngest son had to get up, and I guess it hit me then that what they're going through.
Yeah.
That was hard.
It's hard too sometimes with boys because boys don't always, show their emotions.
No.
But I feel like, especially in the sentencing, hearing Jake read his statement and then your other son as well, you see how this impacted their lives, how it has changed their life forever.
Yeah. They were just not, they were more than brother and sister. They were friends,
Yeah.
They loved each other. So it was, and I hate it. I haven't been able to put myself in anybody else's grief but my own. I couldn't see past my own pain. I know that they were struggling, but I didn't realize it until just recently,
Yeah. Really being, having to sit there and be faced with everything, the truth of what really happened and
then
how,
hearing their statements was difficult.
Yeah. Well, that was amazing that Jake got up there and
I was
read
proud
it.
of him for being able to do that. Because he was struggling for a while. He's like, I don't know, Mom, if I can get up here and do it. And Jordan automatically knew that he couldn't.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it. But then, Jake was asked to read Jordan's, and at first he was, I don't know if I can do it. And I said, well, take it with you, Jacob, and if you can't do it, then I will read it. But he did it.
And he did it, so well. He didn't stutter.
No.
It was almost like Caitlyn was, there with him, just helping him, give him the strength to be there and do that.
I was proud of him. I'd finally maybe start getting peace, but the chatter started immediately on, his side of the family, and it completely stole my peace. Completely. Yeah. Not that, I have any peace anymore in my life, because I don't. It's torture in my life now and in my head. But then after, that went away for a little while, and then after sentencing, it started up again. So it's been difficult.
Yeah.
It's been difficult. I understand that his family's hurting. I understand that they're entitled, to their side of the story and their opinion, but it's very hurtful.
Yeah.
Very. Especially since, sometimes I feel like they weren't even sitting in the same courtroom from what they're saying. And I try to keep it together, and sometimes sometimes I get angry.
Yeah.
Angry about the information.
Excuse me. Milani has said things to you that also helps you know that the right person is behind bars.
Yeah, I mean, there's question on that side about Milani not being there. Milani slept with her mother every night, every single night since she was born, you know?
Yeah.
So I know Milani was in that bed. And then for Milani to start saying things like, I heard my mama say, no, 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 don't kill me. Milani saw and heard things.
Yeah.
She absolutely heard and saw things. And then she would ask us, and we never talked in front of her about her mama being killed. We never discussed it within earshot because we didn't want to traumatize her further. But when she asked us, you know, why did mommy's boyfriend kill her? That's not something a 4-year-old can come up with on their own.
Kids are sponges. They know and see so much more than we even think they do. And it's like, it'll come out at those random moments when you least expect it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that like for your family to hear Trenton Frye address you and apologize for the loss that you've been through? I think it was weird for everyone in the courtroom, but I can't imagine.
Well, what got me is, you know, we are not allowed to address him. Why does he get that opportunity when we can't? Why does he get more, do I call it privileges? You know, why does he get that when I couldn't address him? Because there are so many things I wanted to tell him. You know, I tried to keep it PG and I tried to keep it professional. But when he stood up and said, I would like to address the family if I may, I was furious. I was furious. He caused this and he did this and he's going to turn around and tell us he's sorry for our loss and he feels the loss of Caitlyn too. I was so pissed.
Why do you think he did that?
To make the judge think that, you know, he's probably a good person.
Do you think the judge saw through it?
Oh, yeah. If you looked at the videos that you posted, the judge looks at me and my son different than he looks at the other family. I think when he came in there, he already knew what he was going to give him. I think he was disgusted by him.
Yeah. And judges don't always show emotion like that.
He was basically almost gritting his teeth.
Yeah. You could tell he was trying to keep it professional, but I think after hearing what the defense attorney had to say and then what Trenton had to say, he was ready to give him his sentence.
Let's talk about the defense attorney.
Yeah.
I am so angry with him. You know, not only did he degrade my daughter by saying, well, number one, he blamed Jacob and is traumatizing him, you know, further by blaming him still. Sorry. I understand that. He has to try to get his client off. But for him to say that my daughter was being strangled out of sexual gratification in Jacob Piercy's bedroom, I was furious. And then his sentencing. He had the nerve to say, well, this isn't the most violent crime we've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, he's heartless.
Yeah. And you can, you know, you can obviously, his goal at the end of the day is to try to represent Trenton Frye with, you know, and pick at any reasonable doubt. But I can, you know, totally empathize about how a lot that was said was hurtful, especially with a family who has lost so much and is grieving so deep and is learning all of like the horrific details about how they lost their loved one.
Well, you know, it makes me think too that, you know, if you're a victim of an assault, a sexual assault, a domestic violence assault, it will be hard for a woman to get up on that stand and tell their truth and know that they're going to be picked apart, degraded, and humiliated up there like my daughter was in death, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we tell everybody to, you know, speak up, you know, let everybody know what's happening. And then if they do, they end up on the stand like that and the defense attorney is picking them apart.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it takes courage for a woman to get up on that stand, and because they're going to be picked apart and degraded.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of women don't come forward.
I do.
Or sometimes women do come forward. They bring their case to police, and police tells them, listen, we believe you, but there's no way a prosecutor is ever going to bring this to trial.
Yeah.
Some of that is to protect the victim because they know that in the end they would lose the case, which is horrible.
Yeah.
It's awful. Do you feel like, you know, you kind of became more of a victim to the justice system by going through this process? Or do you guys feel like, you were treated fairly throughout this process? Because I know sometimes families feel like the attorneys are taking them into consideration, and other times the families feel like they were kind of left out of the whole process.
We were 100% in great hands with Wes Nance, because, throughout all this with Heather Sellers, the victim advocate, the Wes Nance, and...
Yeah. Do you think that makes a big difference for a family who's experienced something like this, just to, be included in the process as much as possible?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this is all new to me. I've never ever been in court for something like this. I've never had any type of tragedy in our lives like this,
Yeah.
So, I mean, after the sentencing, I hugged him, Wes Nance, and Heather, and I told them both, I said, the only good thing that has come out of this is it happened in Bedford County, so you guys would be the ones to take care of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the truth. Anywhere else, I would have been very concerned.
Yeah. No, Wes definitely did a great job.
He's compassionate. Very compassionate. I remember at sentencing, right before they were, not sentencing, I'm sorry, right at the trial, right before they were coming back with the verdict, he squatted down in front of me. I was in the little pews. He squatted down in front of me, and he held my knee, and he said, if this don't go our way, you blame me. It's all me. It's all my fault.
Wow.
And he's like, he carries the weight on his shoulders, and I know it was a big weight lifted.
Yeah.
After this.
I mean, in the courtroom, I think every day of trial and throughout the sentencing, you had the investigators who worked on this case. I saw some of the reactions from the nurses that were in the hospital with Caitlyn when she first came in. This case touched a lot of people. You could see Michelle Anderson, am I saying that correctly? I think she's with Bedford County. What did the investigator? Alderson, yeah. Michelle Alderson with Bedford County. She was emotional, I think, at the sentencing.
She was one of the first people that I hugged after Wes Nance when I walked out. She stood right in front of me and I hugged her.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think like everyone who has been touched by Caitlyn's story, like it has changed their lives in some way. And you don't like, law enforcement doesn't always stick around the whole trial, and they really, you could tell that they were confident in the evidence that they brought to the case. They were confident that Trenton Frye was the one who attacked and murdered Caitlyn. Mm-hmm. So just to see that, I think it was really powerful.
It was. And I appreciate them being there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is this, if you can even put it into words, but how has this 3-year ordeal changed you and changed your family's life?
We've always been a close family. I think we're even closer now, if that's even possible, because we've been very close. It's still very hard, because I'm not the person I used to be. I'll never be that person anymore. I can't laugh with my whole soul anymore. So, but I try to do more for my boys, just to let them know, because you just don't know anymore.
Yeah.
It's made me afraid now that, it could happen again. I've got other sons that or my sisters,
kind of shatters your safety.
Yeah, it puts fear in you that, something like this could happen again.
Yeah. I think too, like I speak with a lot of different people who are victims of crimes, and there's something about when it comes to your safe space, when it comes to your home too, that also shatters. Because, Caitlyn, like you said, was in her home, in her bed, sleeping next to her daughter, doing everything right.
And that haunts me. It haunts me at night, especially when I try to go to sleep. I work myself to death so I can try to just, when I get to bed, just go to sleep right away. And it haunts me at night.
Yeah.
Thinking what you went through, the pain and the terror. That's my biggest fear, somebody breaking into your house and being there when you're asleep. And Caitlyn, that's how Caitlyn died.
Yeah.
And I just, the thoughts of what she went through, it's horrific.
Yeah. I'm sorry that you have to sit with that, and that's like a part of your reality.
Yeah. I hate it.
As far as Jacob, I know you guys have a relationship that's come out of this. You know, he's close with your family. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, he's like one of my kids now, you know?
Yeah.
You know, he, in my eyes, he's a hero. Milani's a hero. You know, they both tried to save, you know, Caitlyn. And I feel like I'm always indebted for him for trying to save my child. He did everything he could.
Yeah.
And
there was some talk during the trial, you know, from the defense's side that Caitlyn moved in with this guy she barely knew, which we learned that she knew him a lot longer than the defense was trying to make it sound. But also, in my eyes, I think Caitlyn moved in with Jacob because she felt safe with him.
It could have been, too. You know, I questioned that in the beginning.
Yeah.
I was like, Caitlyn, are you sure he's okay to be around Milani? You know, because she does have a daughter to look after. And Caitlyn was a good judgment of character. You know, until Trent come along, I thought she was a good judge of character. And if she ever saw anything, like I said, Caitlyn was tough, and Caitlyn cooked up for herself and her daughter. And but I did question it in the beginning because I had never met him.
Yeah.
And the first thing, you know, I say to him, I'm cussing him out because I thought he gave my daughters drugs, you know, and I wish I could take that back, but, you know, but I trusted her decisions. Again, she was an adult, 28 years old, and I could give my opinion, but it doesn't mean your adult child is going to take your opinion on everything. So
I think, though, like, you know, maybe if she was at all fearful of Trenton Frye, I could see why her moving in with a male that she trusted, that she felt safe with. Yeah. I could see how she felt like that would be able to protect her in some way, you know?
Yeah, I think she started, and I didn't know this until after the trial, I think that night when they did exchange some, you know, he gave her some, you know, you're a piece of shit, and Karma's a bitch, and all that. And then, you know, the demons one. I think she may have got a little scared after that because she had told Jacob that she needed to get her, can you say gun on here? Get her gun because we kept it for her until she was able to really be able to handle it well.
Yeah.
So she had mentioned to Jacob, I need to get my gun from Mom's house. So I think maybe she, that night, really started maybe fearing him. And I didn't know because I would have went over there and camped out.
Yeah. But, you know, she's probably thinking she can handle this. No one's thinking that he's going to sit outside her door and stalk her and break into her house and attack her. Is there anything that you've learned now about, like, the world of domestic violence? I mean, you know, I saw you stand up and speak at a domestic violence vigil. I know that you plan to continue to share Caitlyn's story. But, you know, people watching this, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be able to identify with you. Some that are going to even have experienced something similar, losing their child to domestic violence. Is there anything that, you know, you want to say now that you've kind of been forced into this club that no one wants to join?
Well, with Caitlyn's, it just come out of nowhere. Like we didn't have signs, and if there are people out there, there are signs. Get away as fast as you can, and it's the most dangerous when you try to get away, which we have found out. Yeah. But tell someone, you know, speak up and tell someone because you can't face this alone. Yeah. You know, you need to talk to people and make people aware of what's going on.
I see. I'm trying to think.
You're such a great interviewer.
Like, usually I write down questions, and this time I didn't get to, so I'm like, is there anything that I'm forgetting? Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you think, I just don't want to forget something?
There's probably so much stuff that I remember afterwards.
I know. I guess, I mean, I don't want to spend our time talking about Trenton Frye, but like, is there ever a place in your mind where you would be able to forgive his actions? Or, like, do you spend any time thinking about him now? Or is it kind of like, now that he's sentenced and you know he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life, like, what do you think about when you think about him?
Well, I shouldn't let him rent space in my head, but he's the one is responsible for killing my child. Yeah. And I let him rent space in my head because I'm so angry. I'm so angry. as far as forgiving, if he would have wrecked my car, been mean to Caitlyn, you know, broke up with her, I could forgive him for that. Not wrapping a cord around my child after beating the hell out of her. There's no forgiveness ever. I'll go to my grave hating him and not forgiving him.
Yeah. I completely understand that. And continuing to pull his family through this mess, pull your family through this mess by not admitting to it.
Yeah. Don't even think about my family. Think about his family. All the money that they're having to come up with, all the anguish they're going through trying to prove him as being innocent. It's going to take years.
Yeah.
Look what, you know, in my situation after this trial, I was like, all right, I can breathe. You know, I feel like I've been in survival mode or fighting mode for 3 years, you know. I can now start to breathe. I won't, but, you know, I feel like maybe I could start to breathe now. They're continuously going to have to fight for the rest of their life because he's not going to get out. But it's so unfair to his family to do his family like this.
Yeah. I know, and I just feel like, I just felt like when he addressed you guys and he said, I'm sorry, you could hear he almost slipped up. He almost said, you could tell that something in him wants to say it or just is guilty. And it's just like so hard for him to hold it back. And
I think he was trying hard not to slip up and say, you know, I'm sorry for doing this. He knows what he did. And, you know, well, like I said, he can lie to investigators. He can lie to his mama and sister. He can lie to everybody. But God saw him do that. And he can't lie his way out of that. So one day he's going to have to answer to it.
Yeah. Enough about Trenton. For people, you know, watching this, what do you want them to take away with them, you know, from Caitlyn's story? We often talk about her journal entry, I am loved. What else do you want them to take away?
In those journals, you know, she would do affirmation and she would manifest what she wanted good to come, you know. And in those, I could see that she wanted a family, you know. And the last one that she wrote was, you know, it started out with I am loved. And it gives me a little comfort knowing that she was loved when she left here, you know. And that's the message we're trying to spread, you know. There's probably lots of people that go their entire life without being told they're loved, you know. And we're just trying to spread a little love for Caitlyn, you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and I appreciate you always being so open to share Caitlyn's story. Just, you know, your strength. I think you feel alone, but I think there are a lot of people who are watching you and are feeling so empowered. You're following on TikTok, all the people in your comments. There's so many people out there that are rooting for your family, that, you know, love you, love Caitlyn, and, you know, I just hope that you and your family can continue to heal and, you know, eventually, hopefully find some peace, you know, just some peace.
Well, I'll never stop.
Yeah.
I will always share Caitlyn's story in her name, and Caitlyn's going to save lives.
Yeah.
I think she's already saved some, and, you know, she's making people think about what kind of situation they're in, and she's going to save lives. We'll never stop.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great job.
Thank you.